David Shearer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Sir, remember the days when the National Party talked about aspiration, they talked about a brighter future? Well, I've heard a lot of words describe this budget, but aspiration and brighter future never featured. I heard bland, I heard boring, I heard broccoli, I heard bollocks from some person, and that's just the beginning of the alphabet to describe this budget, sir. It is underwhelming. Certainly, sir, underwhelming. It's smart in one sense. I will give Mr English this, that he has put aside money, your money, taxpayers' money, for a big splurge in election year. Taxpayers' money squirreled away so that they can spend up and try and win the election. And he's done a second thing, and that is he's paid off some of the debt that he's racked up in the last 8 years. More than $60 billion, the largest debt in New Zealand's history, has been racked up by this government in the last 8 years. And they inherited a surplus in 2008. 2008, sir, that budget by Michael Cullen, 9 years of budget surplus year after year after year. We're finally back in surplus, and now Bill English is paying off the debt. Sir, this might be good for the National Party as they're crowing about right now, but it's certainly not very good for everybody who might be listening here at home. Take education, sir. Education, the operational budget of schools, and what I mean by that is the money that the schools spend on sports gear, on computers, on all those things that kids need to get a good education, sir. That operational budget has stayed flat despite the fact that the population has increased. And 86% of principals out there are saying they're not getting enough money. So we know what's going to happen now. What's going to happen now is that parents will be asked to put their hand in their pocket again and fork out for schools money that should be paid by this government. They should be funding our schools at the right level. But instead, sir, they're putting money into those schools, those charter schools, 7 charter schools actually to be exact. These are schools, sir, that soak up 3 to 4 times more money per child than state schools that have no accountability, do not have to have trained teachers, who don't have to teach to a curriculum, and are not accountable under any OIA, any Official Information Act, sir. They are schools that this government is preferring to put money in instead of our state schools. And let's take health, sir. Well, the government's talking the big talk about how much money's gone into health, $2.2 billion according to Dr. Jonathan Coleman, except that he mumbles under his breath over 4 years. So it's only $500 million. And actually, if you do the maths on this one, sir, that the government, of course, has not done, you will realise that it does not keep pace with population increase and inflation. In fact, it's $200 million behind. So what we're actually getting, sir, is less this year than we need to have. Our district health boards, everybody's own region, will have less to spend than they did last year. They will not be able to keep up per person with what is needing to be spent, sir. That's health. That's the bad news in health that you won't hear from this government. It's falling behind. But, sir, I want to talk a little bit about something that's close to my heart, and that's Auckland. Because I'm a free Auckland, I'm an Aucklander, and I like to live in this city. I grew up there. I grew up in South Auckland. I've lived all over the city. I was at Eden Park on Saturday watching the Blues. I still am a faithful, loyal Blues supporter.
Oh, sorry, that was an accident. It was just
was that
premature on my part with that topic.
That was a Highlanders fan who hit the button there.
Hurricanes?
Hurricanes. Oh, sorry, Hurricane or whatever. Doesn't matter. They're not Blues. Anyway, sir. I hope I get a few extra minutes for that, sir. There should be a penalty for the Speaker making a mistake like that. Sir, Auckland, sir, has received nothing in this budget. It is utterly failed this city, 1/3 of the population, and it has absolutely got nothing, sir. And if you might be perhaps one of those people listening to this debate who are trying to save for a house, and you will know that in 2008, when this government came into power, houses were averaging out at about $435,000. Still high, but $435,000. What are they today? What are they today after 8 years of this government? Sir, they are $928,000 each. Average. $928,000. Who can afford that sort of money, sir, for a house in Auckland? And what's the government doing about it? Nothing. The mumblings and fumblings and bumblings of Nick Smith, sir, have not done one thing to make those houses more affordable. Have they, for example, excluded foreign investors from buying our houses? Why is our housing market like the New York Stock Exchange? Why can you trade and buy houses in Auckland the same way you can do pork bellies on the New York Stock Exchange? It's not right, because those people are here and they want to live in those houses, sir. And 40% of the houses that are being bought in Auckland are being bought by investors. And sir, that's wrong. And perhaps, sir, you might be one of those people who are listening to this debate that might be gridlocked in traffic at the moment in your car, because a few years ago, the road that used to take you to wherever you wanted to go in a few minutes now takes you longer than an hour. And $2 billion of value in Auckland is being lost by people locked up in gridlock. And it was only a few months ago that this government decided that it needed to fast forward the Auckland rail link because it realised that actually putting more lanes on a motorway wasn't going to cut it. And up to that point, I'd heard all the reasons in the world from Stephen Joyce why we could not afford to put a rail link in and improve rail systems in Auckland, until Aucklanders said, for God's sake, I'm sick and tired of sitting in a traffic jam for hours and hours and hours when you could be doing something, and they've done nothing. And sir, you might be one of those people who are listening to this debate, sir, who are in a rental property, who have just realised that their rents have gone up by 37% and now are averaging about $520 a week. How can you possibly afford $520 a week and be able to put a little bit aside for perhaps the kids' holiday or whatever? You're living on the edge the whole time. And sir, I have people coming into my office day after day wanting help. There's a woman that came in tears with her 3 children last week, who was desperate for a house. She was living in a garage, was told that she had to go over to a hostel on the other side of town. When she got there, she found that she was living in a room, 1 double bed and 1 single bed with her family of 4, and using and sharing her bathrooms with other male occupants of this hostel. She said, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to go back to the garage that I was living in, because at least my kids will be safe there. And what happened to her? Well, she got told that because she didn't accept what was offered to her, she went down the bottom of the priority list. Now, that is appalling, sir. Sir, we have those sorts of people in our city, in our country, who need our support, and this government, and John Key in particular, has not given it. Sir Helen Clark said once that she did more for the health of this country by being housing minister than she ever did from being a health minister. Sir, we have a finance minister from Southland, we have a housing minister from Nelson, and we have a prime minister who lives in Parnell who's forgotten where he's come from, out of a state house. And sir, as a result of that, we have got the appalling mess that we have today. We have, sir, in this country, a plan on this side of the house that will build more houses, that will stop that speculation, and that will enable people to be able to afford their own house and get ahead. Sir, that government has run out of ideas, it's run out of aspiration, inspiration, and any other those words that it used to use, and now, sir, it's sadly and utterly losing to this country. Thank you, sir.